Hey everybody, welcome to Piano Lessons with Elvin. This is episode 4, I think, and will be the last of the last two. Let me see this. So this is the third episode and the last of this series on me just showing you how to make the 4 main types of chords. Started with major, then minor, and now I'm going to show you diminished and augmented. So feel free to check out those other videos. I go over some stuff more in detail in some of those than I'll do now, particularly about half steps and whole steps. I'm going to kind of assume you know that and just kind of jump into these chords. So, yep, thanks for joining me. Let's get rocking. Just going to grab the phone. Nice. Classy production value, huh? Okay, so first video, which I think is episode 2, did a major chord, then we did a minor chord. I want to start this with an augmented chord. If we think about that word augment, to increase, and then diminish to shrink. So if we keep in mind augmented, I love to start with a major chord. Then to augment it, to increase it, we'll take the top note, which we could also call the 5th. We can call this the 5th because from the bottom note, well, we can also call the root because it's the foundation, the bottom, to here is 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can call this the top note, but more official music slang would be the 5th. And all I got to do is sharp it, or raise it up a half step, and then you get augmented. It's not the prettiest sound, it's very alarming, but that would be an augmented chord. Now, I'm going to go to a minor chord to show you the diminished real quick. So here's a minor chord, and then we diminish or shrink the minor chord, and once again, it affects the 5th. This time, though, we shrink it down. The augmented went up to increase, to augment. This one diminishes itself by going a half step down. So this would be a C diminished chord. Now, the thing I like to point out is the hierarchy of these chords. If we view augmented as the biggest, because it's bigger than major. Here's major, and we increase it even more. This means as big as a chord gets, boom. And then we shrink it to level 2 to major. Then to go to minor, it shrinks again. And the middle note, or the 3rd of the chord, because it's 1, 2, 3, shrinks. Then to diminish it, we shrink it again. And now this time the 5th shrinks. So smallest chord would be a diminished chord. Then we go to minor, then to major, raising the 3rd, and then augmented to get to that 5th. I'll do a few examples again. Let's start here. Here would be A augmented. And if it's hard to think of the augmented off the top of your head, let's just do A major. And then we just keep in mind the top note or the 5th, we sharp it, go up a half step. Doesn't matter if that half step is a white key like it is here. All that matters is that it is a half step. Doesn't matter, once again, what color it is. Cool. Now if I go back to major, then we shrink to minor. The middle note, the 3rd, gets lowered. Then we shrink it to the smallest it gets. We diminish it. 5th goes down. We flat it or down a half step. We'll do it with one more, guys. Let me just do, I don't know, this note. Cool? I'm going to kind of stack it by building a major chord, which, if you recall from, I think, episode 2, it'll consist of 4 half steps from root to 3rd, and then 3 half steps from 3rd to 5th, or you could think middle note to top note. 1, 2, 3. Cool, so there's C sharp major, we could call it. Could also be called D flat, whatever floats your boat. Augmented, increase it, shrinking it, now minor, C sharp minor, now diminish, shrink it down a half step. Cool there. So, that's pretty much the main 4, like I said, augmented, major, minor, diminished. Some tips I also like to just point out there is it just helps to view it that way from that peak. I like to think major and minor, more or less, really, they just mess around with the 3rd, the middle note. You either, flat the 3rd or raise the 3rd, and then with augmented and diminished, that messes with the 5th. You either raise the 5th or flat the 5th or go down with the 5th. But yeah, and those, you'll see so much mainstream music, if you're doing lots of pop and rock and that kind of stuff, it's going to focus almost always on just major, minor chords. I mean, you'll hear augmented and diminished chords, but honestly, like when I'm thinking about it, it's almost always, yeah, it doesn't happen often. It happens all the time in classical music and more complex music like jazz and all that kind of stuff. Not that you can't see them in pop and all that, of course you can, but to me, if you had to choose, I'd say get really awesome at the major and minor chords first, and then kind of throw the augmented and diminished in as little accoutrement. But yeah, I mean, I hope that video makes sense. Please comment below if you'd love me to do some tutorials on other stuff. I'll kind of wrap this up with the main types of chords, and the next lesson I'll either start doing some scale work or some finger exercises, or show you guys how to actually read music, which will be sweet. But appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe and all of that jazz. It means a lot to me. And yeah, peace out. We'll see you.